Goodness, that was quite a storm last night, Naomi Harrington commented when her little maid Suki brought her morning tea upstairs. We've no damage, I hope. It seems not, madam. That's a relief. Naomi smiled her thanks, waited for Suki to leave, and then got up to walk to her bedroom window. Foxfield had been home for most of her adult life, and she loved it here. The house was the largest and loveliest in the village, and the gardens were both beautiful and extensive. Naomi's room overlooked the rear garden, and although the storm had strewn the lawn with twigs and small branches, it warmed her heart to see that all the beautiful trees, from copper beeches to oaks and hollies, remained standing. But then, a sliver of uncertainty about the future of the house, her occupation of it, rather, wriggled into Naomi's mind. She couldn't be entirely confident of keeping the house until it was held in her name alone. For the moment, though, she cast the uncertainty aside, determined to be optimistic and get on with her day. She was downstairs eating breakfast when Suki announced, "Mr. Sykes wants a word, madam." Sykes was the Foxfield gardener. "Is there storm damage after all?" "He says not. I think he wants to talk about something else, but you know Mr. Sykes." "Indeed." Getting more than a grunted word or two out of Jeremiah Sykes took time and patience. "He isn't waiting to speak to me now." "No, madam. He's getting on with his work." "Very well, Suki, thank you." Finishing her breakfast, Naomi decided to see Sykes and then walk into the village to check that everyone else had fared well in the storm. She fetched her coat and hat from the hall cupboard, put them on in the sitting room, and crossed to the mirror to be sure her hat was straight. It was. Naomi was turning away when curiosity had her looking back at her reflection. Would a stranger who passed her in the street guess that she was a blackmailer? She certainly wouldn't be mistaken for an angel. Not even as a child had Naomi been pretty, and 46 years on earth had done nothing to improve matters, having widened her hips, added weight to her bulldog-like jowls, and scored wrinkles into her face. But in her sensible country tweeds, most people would probably dismiss her as one of those dull women of a certain age who sat on committees and did good in the world. Naomi laughed. She was indeed one of those women, but everyone had hidden depths, and Naomi was still discovering hers. With 1941 having just rolled over into 1942, the saying, "out with the old and in with the new," was in her thoughts. One of the old things she was discarding from her life was Alexander, a man she'd married in good faith more than a quarter of a century ago. It hadn't taken long for her to realise that he was cold beneath the superficial charm, though it was only recently that she'd discovered that, in addition to betraying her in the most heartbreaking manner, he'd also fleeced her of most of the money she'd inherited from her father. That was where the blackmail came in. It wasn't a criminal misdeed against an innocent party, but the righting of a wrong. The gist being that Alexander should pay back a substantial portion of her inheritance and transfer Foxfield into her name alone. Or else. He'd huffed and puffed in fury, of course, for he was an arrogant, manipulative man who hated to be thwarted. But Naomi had evidence of his secrets. The divorce was likely to take months, but the sooner it happened, the better for Naomi. She was desperate to feel financially secure, and she was equally desperate to be free to take up the offer of happiness she'd received from a different man. At her age, in with the new indeed. The old year had seen ups and downs for the village too, not least because its beloved bookshop had literally gone up in smoke when an enemy plane had crashed into the home of its operations, the Sunday school hall, destroying chairs, tables, equipment and most of the books, as well as the building. Much more than just a place to buy or borrow books, the bookshop had been the beating heart of Churchwood. It had brought the community together to raise spirits with fun and entertainment, while war loomed over them like a malevolent cloud.